this is Sally Morgan, physical therapist, craniosacral therapist, and Tellington T-Touch practitioner for animals and people. This is Tristan. He's a Corgi, and this is an episode of Conversations with a Corgi. And we're starting late again today because the guy didn't make it here, and my basement still requires quite a lot of mopping in the morning. And I'm just having such a hard time getting caught up with things from having been away so much. So at least we're here. I need help. I need somebody to do some work for me. Anyway, so we're continuing our discussion about hot spots. And today we're going to look at some herbal things that you can do and all natural things that you can do to help your dog when he has hot spots. One of the things I like to use for my dogs is a peppermint infusion spray. This is not peppermint oil. It isn't diluted peppermint oil. It is an infusion, which is a byproduct of creating the peppermint oil process. I have a friend in Virginia who has that available. It is very cooling. It is way less concentrated than the oil, even if you mix it with something. And so that spray is very cooling, and I've used that on my dogs. It also keeps them from licking because the peppermint taste is not that appealing to a dog. So that's something I've done. And I've also used a dilute lavender spray, but what I'm going to tell you today is a lot better. So this is from a woman named Rita Hogan, who is a canine herbalist, and this is probably on her website. She says to make a rinse for your hot spot after you first trim the hair around the area. It would be great if you could shave it, but otherwise just cut the hair away and leave a good margin around the area of clean, healthy skin. So she says to make a rinse using 10 drops of crab apple flower essence, a half teaspoon of Himalayan salt, 8 ounces of boiled and then cooled filtered water, and then 20 drops of self-heal, which is Prunella vulgaris. And we talked about that when I was doing my series on the botanical animal flower essences. Self-heal is in a lot of them, and it's actually a good thing to have on hand if you don't have it. And then 10 drops of echinacea tincture, which again is available at places like Whole Foods. So you can also replace that water with either witch hazel or rose water to get extra drying and cooling. So you're going to mix together the flower essences, which was the crabapple, the salt, and the water, and then add the self-heal and the echinacea. And then you're going to flush that area where the hot spot is and let it dry. You can also gently mist it with this and then let it dry. And you want to do this 3 or 4 times a day in your first 24-hour period. So after you've done that and it's started to heal it and cut down on some of the infection that might be going on, you're going to make this other combination of a half a cup of powdered bentonite clay and an 1/8 of a cup of powdered echinacea plantain leaf or yarrow. Plantains actually grow in the yard, and they're sort of a round, long leaf, and they're the ones that are really good for burns. So you might be able to just mash up some plantains and get some of the smashed up leaves and use them with the bentonite clay. It says that the clay by itself is okay if you don't have access to the herbs. And yarrow actually is blooming around here right now. It's a yellow flower. So you're going to put the clay on the lesion and let it sit for 30 to 45 minutes. So you may have to sit with your dog or wrap the leg loosely with something or the body part just to hold the clay on there, because it's going to get dry and crackly. And if you've ever done a facial mask, you'll know how uncomfortable and itchy that is. So you're going to have to keep an eye on the dog for the 30 minutes. And then you're going to rinse it with the tepid water and then follow that up with the rinse that you already made, or just use the rinse. And you're going to do that 2 or 3 times a day. And this is going to probably create healing in about 2 or 3 days, so you won't have to be sitting there with your dog with this clay mixture on him for too much time. And then when the hot spot starts to heal, you can use a salve that you can make with calendula or St. John's wort. Both of those herbs calm the skin and remove the itch, and then they also decrease the inflammation. And I'm sure if you look on Dr. Shelton, the Oily Vet site, she probably has some other solutions using her essential oils for hot spots, because this is a really common problem and it's really well addressed with herbs and oils and plants. If the hot spot seems to be infected and there's a lot of drainage or super scabbing, wait until it starts to heal with minimal drainage before you do any of this, because you don't want to clog it up, especially with the clay. So some hot spots are dry and they don't have much bacteria growing on them. That's pretty unusual, but it does happen sometimes. And then you can also use that salve that you make out of calendula, which a vet friend of mine made out of his garden for my dog Comet when he had like scald marks on his stomach from laying in pee and then it staying in his hair and me not being aware of it. And 2 vets didn't see it either until I brought him to my sister. So that calendula and other things, I'm sure he had yarrow and the other herb in it, plantain leaf too. It's a brown mixture. It worked super effectively. I said he should sell it. He could make a lot of money selling it, but he doesn't want to do that. He thinks that degrades the integrity of the work. So anyway, that calendula salve can really help heal it quickly, and you can use that if your dog does not seem to have any kind of an infection. And the misting, the uninfected one, 3 or 4 times a day, is also helpful. So that's one thing you can do. Aside from what I use is this peppermint infusion spray. I've also used a tea tree mix spray from Tea Pro, and that's good because it's antifungal, antibacterial, and antimicrobial. So that's a good thing to use if you've got one that's pretty infected. And tea tree is a really powerful healer, so it's really useful to do that. You can also look on another canine herbalist website that I use sometimes, Cat Lane. She probably has something there about hot spots as well. And I am sure there are many products available to use topically for hot spots. And I have used a variety of things and all of them have been effective. And as I said, sometimes I've just used dilute lavender mixed with witch hazel, and even that has made a big difference. So that's another option. So again, if you don't have crabapple flower essence, that's pretty readily available. Himalayan salt, you can get that also at health food stores. It's a pink salt, just pink salt. I'm sure you could use another kind of salt, but the Himalayan salt is more gentle and more drying. And most of these things, the echinacea tincture and the self-heal, you can get at a Whole Foods or other health food stores. So it's a pretty effective solution. So tomorrow we will continue. Well, I don't know if I'll do this tomorrow because I have to drive to the Cape and get there at a reasonable hour. We're going to continue talking about some of the systemic things that you can do to treat hot spots, because really you want to get to where they're coming from, not just treat the surface wound. So we want to get to the root of the problem in order to really stop this from continuing and progressing in your dog, because hot spots can lead to things like ear infections. If you've got a floppy-eared dog and he's got the infection in this area and he's constantly digging at it and injuring his ear at the same time. So we will look at more of those things tomorrow. I've also just used plain old arnica cream because it stops the itching. It is healing. It takes some of the inflammation out. The one that I use from a company called Pure Pro, which is located just north of me. It's a massage product company. Their echinacea, or their arnica, is very, very good, and I have used it for years for myself and for my animals. Especially for dogs, because it's at a really good level of concentration that is safe and useful for dogs. I've even used it on some cats. So that's another thing that you can do if it's not too moist and gushy and needing treatment for infection as well, because the arnica does kind of calm it down and allow the body to heal it itself. So when I see you again, which may be Sunday, we'll talk about some of the systemic things that you can do for hot spots, and then we'll talk about some tea touches that you can do for hot spots in the days following that. So we will see you then. Thanks for joining us today. Everybody have a good day. I've got to call the heater company and find out why that guy is not here, so that I can stop mopping my basement, because I'm going away and I don't want to have to pay somebody to come mop my basement. Ugh. Everybody have a great day. Thanks for joining us today. What do you think, Bess? Ready to pack up to go on vacation? See the doggies. Uh-oh, we have a tick. All right, we'll see you soon. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.